Troy here, and welcome back to Beaters, Drivers, and Survivors. And today we're still working on the 61 Buick Skylark, trying to get it one step closer to that maiden voyage around the block. But before we do that, we need to get rid of the current auxiliary tank situation that's supplying the gas to the engine. So we need to pull the fuel from the factory gas tank. But before we can do that, we have to make our connections in the back from the gas tank to the hard line under the car. But there's also a vent hose that we have to connect up in the back that goes from the top of the filler neck to the side of the gas tank on the top side. But the weird aspect of this whole thing is that the filler neck on this drops down under the frame rail, but the vent tube passes through a tiny little access hole and goes over the top of the frame rail to the gas tank. So unfortunately, I need to drop the gas tank again in order to make those connections. Now, years ago, my family did siphon the gas out, and I say my family because it really was a team effort. My wife and daughter actually siphoned the fuel out of that gas tank, and then they also cleaned it, and it was ready to go. We pulled the sending unit out of it, and the sock that serves as like a little filter, that was completely gone, like disintegrated. So now I have to do a pre-filter before the pump, just to make sure I'm not pulling any garbage from that tank, because even though we tried our best to clean it, you can never get all the garbage completely out of it. All the little pieces of rust or just years and years of use, dirty gas, things like that. So we're going to be installing a clear pre-filter before this pump so that I can keep an eye on it to see what kind of garbage are we pulling from this tank. And then we'll be connecting the rubber hose then from the hard line that runs underneath the car. So sending unit has the supply line coming out the top of the tank. We're going to connect that to the rubber hose to the hard line under the car. Then it'll be from the hard line where it stops up here near in the engine compartment. We're going to connect the pre-filter for the pump, then the hard line, then the rubber hose to the pump. So pretty simple project here we're going to do. It's a little bit tedious now because we need to drop the tank again. So what I would like to show you is how we gain access in the back here, because it's pretty odd for and particular to this car right here. So let me show you what we're doing. This is really difficult to see, but here's the vent tube, or not the vent tube. This is really difficult to see, but here's the filler neck traveling down underneath the subframe. But just above that, there's a little hole here that goes above the subframe where my finger is moving right now. That tube, it's going to be a hose that'll go from the top here where the pipe is coming out of the filler neck, and then a rubber hose will travel down, and then, if my memory's correct, there is a small tube, like a nipple, that sticks out the side of the gas tank at the top that the hose will then connect to. What I need to do is drop the tank, measure the diameter of that nipple or metal tube that's coming out of the tank so that I know what size hose to get, and then I have to feed the hose through that opening that's above the subframe so that I can make the connection at the top. I think in here, by just having the tube just kind of hanging in here, and I can just fit it on here and put a hose clamp on there to get that tightened up. But I also need to do the same thing at the gas tank side, so that's why unfortunately I have to drop the tank again. And I just wasn't thinking, I just wanted to get this gas tank off the floor because they take up a lot of space. But that's what we're going to do next. So for the vent tube here, I'll show you how I access this. It looks kind of funny in here because let me open up the gas door here. You can see the tire down in there. That's because this section of the inner fender I had taken out, and it's just this plate right here that bolts in. So I removed that just to gain better access to this. Right here is the vent tube at the top of the actual filler neck. Problem is, I put the gas tank back in here to get it off of my floor of the garage. And what I need to do now is drop this gas tank back down. You can see how this is a real unique filler neck here. The filler neck comes down, then tapers down real thin here. They like kind of squashed it down from the factory so that it would fit over the large subframe there and then up. Most of these cars, not these cars, but like other cars, Falcons, things like that, they pass the filler neck into the trunk and then connect it with a rubber hose. When this one keeps everything out of the trunk, I actually like this setup better because it just keeps the fuel smell out of the car. All right, I already sprayed both of these locations here with WD-40. I prefer the PB Blaster, but unfortunately I ran out of PB Blaster. So we're going to start loosening up this tank. There's no fuel in this tank, so it should be pretty light for me to be able to handle. We'll see how far we actually need to drop it down also. I'm not sure if I need to pull it all the way out or not. Because I can't remember. It's been so long, I cannot remember how easily it is to, or how difficult it is to access the top of the tank here for that vent. We also need to be very careful we don't pull the wire out of the sending unit. It's been so long, usually I try to make those a little bit longer when I'm up there working on it. I like to make my wire a little bit longer at the sending unit to give me a little more room that if I do need to drop the tank, I don't have to worry so much about tearing that line out. But I can't remember what I did with this one. Alright, we're getting closer here. Now, what we do, we'll put a mat under here so that if the gas tank does happen to drop uncontrollably, it will hit a soft surface instead of the concrete floor. Okay, there we got that. Oh, it's stubborn over here. Okay. And there we go. Ah, there it is. I see it. I see it. So, I will unfortunately have to... I put tape over it. So, there we go. Alright. Let me give you a closer look so that you can see what's going on over here on this side. So here on the top of the tank, this is the vent tube. So you can see right here, I had it covered with tape to try to keep garbage out of it. Now that tape is basically gone to poop. But up here, there's a small notch in the trunk floor, and then that's where your rubber hose will pass through. And then it'll come out the other side. And up to that point in here that I had showed earlier, comes up into here and will connect to the neck right up here at the top of the neck. It's hard to see. The neck is still up too high to really notice, but it'll go up and over, come out the other side there. So it's a little bit of a tricky deal, but I'll just connect the hose, poke it through that little hole, and leave it long enough so I can cut it off then on the other side. since we're working under here, here's the supply line, so you can see from the top of the tank at the sending unit. And as I mentioned before, I did make this one longer. So I made that longer so I could drop the tank without worrying about tearing it out of the sending unit. So what we're going to do here, we'll put a little cap on that just to keep the garbage out of it since I'm shifting it around. And then I'm going to take a quick measurement of this guy here so I know what hose to buy. Measuring this, 1/2-inch wrench, and that fits tightly over that. So we need a 1/2-inch hose that is acceptable to use with fuel. Back from a quick run to the auto parts store to get some fuel hose. I got 1/2-inch fuel hose, several feet of it. AutoZone did not stock it. Advanced Auto did not stock it, but Napa luckily stocked it and was selling it by the foot, so I purchased several feet of it. I don't need several feet right now, but I do want to do some welding on this wheel well here, the wheel opening that had been manipulated a bit by the previous owner. So I need to drop the tank again because the filler neck comes right up into that area where I'm going to be doing some welding, and fuel fumes, sparks, kaboom. You want to avoid it. So that's why I'm going to end up dropping the tank again in the future, but this time I'm prepared with the correct hose so that I can reconnect it, because I'll probably have to cut it when I drop the tank the next time. So let's get to installing this hose. Alright, there. Here the hose is pressed on to the top of the filler neck. Now we'll slide on our hose clamp and make sure that the hose clamp is in the right orientation so they can be tightened up in the future. So I think we'll go that direction right there. You know what? We're going to switch that direction and slide it on this way. Always keep serviceability in mind for the future. Something that the factory generally does not take into consideration, because their primary concern is efficiency on the assembly line and not efficiency with maintenance work. So now we have to feed the fuel line up over the frame rail in order to get to the gas tank. So it's crusty up there. So what we'll do is slip a finger from a glove over the end of the hose. Tape would work as well, but I like using this method because I can pull the thing right off. It's actually a pretty large hose to feed through the frame rail, but we'll get it. There we go. Now we just have to carefully feed it through. And the object here is to not have it kinked. So we'll have to do a little twist action to this thing as we get it up in there. That's good. So now we need to see how much hose do we need. Now for the super pain in the butt part, getting the tank back up, which that part of it isn't the bad part. The bad part is trying to pull the slack of the hose through here at the same time while you lift it, and attempting to do it alone. So, wish me luck. Gotta move the tank over a little bit. Wow, what a stupid design. Yeah, What a dumb setup that is. Now I know why I didn't reconnect it when I was just putting the tank up in there. That's really a pain in the butt. Gas tank is in. I apologize. The video stopped for me. I didn't realize it, and I'm not pulling the tank back out to show you how I did it. It was scary looking, probably. But I have an empty tank here, so I did have to press against it with my shoulder, get this thing tightened up. What a bear this was. And it wasn't the fact that the tank was tough to put in. It was that hose. That hose was jamming things up. Let me show you up here. Flip this phone around. Down in there, right there, you can see that hose clamp. That's where that hose comes up from the tank. And here you can see it right here. So it's coming up, it passes over the frame rail under there and up here. With the fuel tank in the car, this is a good place to stop for the day because I am out of propane and it's 20 degrees outside. So next time we're going to get on connecting the fuel line at the tank up to the engine. Thanks everyone for watching. Like and subscribe. Take care.